Hello, seekers of truth and lovers of wisdom. Today, I want to share with you a revelation that has been systematically obscured. A revelation that unites the wisdom of the ancients with a profound truth that resonates across millennia. It's a truth that ties together the teachings of some of the greatest minds in history: Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Confucius. They all either believed in or gravitated towards the idea of a monotheistic God as the fundamental explanation of reality. Let's start with Socrates, the gadfly of Athens, who spent his life questioning and challenging the status quo. Socrates spoke of his daemonion, a divine voice that guided him towards the truth. This guiding principle wasn't just a random spirit, it was a manifestation of a higher moral order, a beacon of divine wisdom. Now, Plato took this further. In his famous allegory of the cave, for example, Plato showed us that beyond the shadows of our world lies a realm of perfect forms. At the pinnacle of this realm is the form of the good, which he equates to the ultimate source of truth and reality, a concept strikingly similar to a monotheistic God. This form of the good illuminates everything, just as a single, all-powerful God would. Then we have Aristotle, who, with his unmoved mover, introduced a being of pure actuality and perfect thought. This unmoved mover, though impersonal in Aristotle's description, represents the highest form of existence and is the ultimate cause of everything in the universe. This aligns remarkably well with the idea of a monotheistic God, a perfect, eternal, and unchanging source of all that is. In the East, we find Confucius revering Tian, or heaven, which he described as the ultimate moral authority overseeing all human actions. Tian is not just a natural force, but a supreme being, enforcing moral law and justice. Confucius said, "He who offends against heaven has no one to whom he can pray," acknowledging a singular divine authority. Why then are these truths obscured? Why do our times gloss over these profound insights? Perhaps it's because acknowledging them would bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and the religious truths many still hold dear today. It would challenge the secular narratives that dominate our discourse. But we can change this. We can reignite the flame of wisdom that these great thinkers lit so long ago. Join me in exploring these truths, in questioning the narratives we've been fed. Let's delve into the teachings of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Confucius, and see for ourselves how they point towards the ultimate reality of a monotheistic God. Together, we will uncover the wisdom that has been hidden in plain sight. Together, we will challenge the status quo and embrace a truth that transcends time and culture. Subscribe, share, and let's embark on this journey of discovery. The truth is out there, waiting for us to grasp it. Socrates, born around 470 BCE in Athens, Greece, is one of the most renowned figures in Western philosophy. Despite his significant influence, much of what we know about him comes from the accounts of later classical writers, particularly his students Plato and Xenophon, as Socrates himself left no written records. Born to a stonemason named Sophroniscus and a midwife named Phanerete, Socrates received a typical education for an Athenian of his time, which included music, gymnastics, and grammar. Socrates' early life is not well documented, but it is known that he served as a hoplite, foot soldier, in the Athenian army during the Peloponnesian War. His philosophical career began later in life, as he spent much of his time engaging in public debates and discussions in the agora, marketplace of Athens. Socrates' method of inquiry, known as the Socratic method, involved asking probing questions to expose contradictions in his interlocutor's thoughts and lead them to a clearer understanding of philosophical truths. This method was central to his teaching and has influenced educational practices to this day. Central to Socrates' philosophy was the belief in the importance of self-examination and the pursuit of virtue. He famously asserted that the unexamined life is not worth living, emphasizing the need for individuals to reflect on their beliefs and actions to live a morally upright life. Socrates also held that true knowledge and virtue were closely related, proposing that wrongdoing was a result of ignorance rather than a deliberate choice. This intellectual and ethical rigor often put him at odds with many of his contemporaries, including the Sophists, who were professional teachers of rhetoric and skepticism. Socrates' unconventional approach to philosophy and his tendency to challenge the status quo eventually led to his trial and execution. In 399 BCE, he was charged with impiety and corrupting the youth of Athens. Despite his powerful defense, as recorded by Plato in the Apology, he was found guilty by a narrow margin and sentenced to death. Offered the opportunity to propose an alternative punishment, Socrates suggested that he be rewarded for his service to the state, a proposal that only increased the anger of his accusers. Ultimately, he was sentenced to die by consuming a potion of the poison called hemlock. Socrates' death was a poignant testament to his commitment to his principles. He accepted his fate calmly, surrounded by his friends and disciples, refusing to escape when given the chance. His final moments, as described in Plato's Phaedo, reflect his belief in the immortality of the soul and the philosopher's duty to seek truth and virtue above all else. Despite his execution, Socrates' ideas continued to flourish through the works of his students, particularly Plato, who immortalized his teacher's dialogues and methods in a series of philosophical texts. Through Plato's writings, Socrates became a central figure in the development of Western philosophy, influencing countless thinkers and shaping the discourse on ethics, epistemology, and the nature of knowledge. Socrates' legacy endures as a symbol of intellectual integrity, critical inquiry, and the relentless pursuit of truth. His life and teachings continue to inspire and challenge scholars, educators, and students around the world, underscoring the timeless relevance of his philosophical quest for wisdom and virtue. Let's delve into a powerful testimony from one of history's greatest minds, Socrates, as recounted by his student Plato. Listen closely to these words. "I have a divine or spiritual sign. This began when I was a child. It is a voice, and whenever it speaks, it turns me away from something I am about to do, but it never encourages me to do anything. This is what has prevented me from taking part in public affairs, and I think it was quite right to prevent me. Be sure, men of Athens, that if I had long ago attempted to take part in politics, I should have died long ago, and benefited neither you nor myself." What is Socrates telling us here? He's describing a divine guidance, a spiritual sign that has been with him since childhood, a voice that turns him away from potential errors, but never instructs him on what to do. This voice, this divine sign, is a manifestation of a higher moral authority, guiding him towards wisdom and away from harm. Socrates believed that this divine sign protected him from the corrupt and dangerous world of Athenian politics. He understood that engaging in public affairs could have compromised his integrity and even led to his untimely death. By heeding this divine guidance, he not only preserved his own life, but also ensured that he could continue to benefit humanity with his philosophical inquiries and teachings. Now, think about this in our context. Socrates, one of the wisest individuals to ever walk the earth, acknowledged a divine presence that guided his actions. This wasn't a myth or a mere superstition. It was a profound, personal experience that shaped his life and philosophy. He believed in a higher power that was actively involved in his life, steering him away from danger and error. What if we, too, listened for that divine voice in our lives? What if we acknowledged that there might be a higher power guiding us, helping us navigate through the complexities and challenges we face? This isn't just an ancient belief. It's a timeless truth that can resonate with each of us today. Socrates' divine sign is a testament to the idea that there is more to this world than meets the eye. It points to a reality where a monotheistic God or a divine principle watches over us, guiding us towards our true purpose. By understanding and embracing this, we can find our own path to wisdom and integrity, just as Socrates did. So, men and women of today, let's open our hearts and minds to the possibility that we are not alone, that a higher power is guiding us, just as it did Socrates. Let's seek out that divine guidance in our own lives, and let it lead us towards truth, virtue, and fulfillment. The ancients knew it, and it's time we rediscover and embrace it too. Socrates' experience didn't just fade away with time. It echoed through history and resonated deeply with the early Christian thinkers, the fathers of the Church, who grappled with understanding this phenomenon within the context of their own faith. Let's delve into how these great minds received Socrates' divine guidance and what they made of it. Justin Martyr, one of the earliest Christian apologists, touched upon Socrates' daemonion in his writings. Justin saw Socrates' spirit as a manifestation of the divine logos. To Justin, this inner voice was a sign that Socrates had partial access to divine truth and moral guidance, accessible to all humanity to some degree. He believed that the divine logos, which he identified with Christ, was the ultimate fulfillment of this partial truth. Justin's perspective bridges the gap between ancient Greek philosophy and Christian revelation, showing a continuity of divine guidance through different eras. Clement of Alexandria went further in his work Stromata. He suggested that Socrates' daemonion could be seen as a form of divine guidance, much like the Christian concept of conscience, or even the Holy Spirit guiding believers. Clement used Socrates' experience to argue that divine illumination was possible even before Christ, although in a less complete form. He recognized the seeds of divine truth present in Socrates' life, pointing to the universal nature of God's guidance. However, not all church fathers were as accepting. Tertullian, in his Apologeticus, acknowledged Socrates' claim of receiving guidance from a divine voice, but expressed skepticism about its nature. He viewed it as evidence of Socrates' engagement with the spiritual realm, which he associated with the demonic in the absence of true Christian revelation. Tertullian's caution reminds us of the importance of discernment in spiritual matters, emphasizing the need to distinguish true divine guidance from potentially deceptive influences. St. Augustine, one of the most influential church fathers, also addressed the concept of Socrates' daemonion in his seminal work, City of God. Augustine, too, was skeptical. He suggested that Socrates' daemonion might not be a benign spiritual guide, but rather a misleading spirit. Augustine warned against equating Socrates' daemonion with the Christian understanding of divine guidance, underscoring the superiority of revelation through Christ and the necessity of careful discernment. What do we take from this? These early Christian thinkers recognized the profound nature of Socrates' experience, yet they wrestled with understanding it within their theological framework. Justin Martyr and Clement of Alexandria saw glimpses of divine truth in Socrates' daemonion, while Tertullian and Augustine urged caution and emphasized the completeness of Christian revelation. This rich tapestry of interpretations teaches us that the quest for divine truth has been a continuous journey, spanning different cultures and epochs. Socrates' daemonion serves as a powerful example of how divine guidance can manifest in various forms, urging us to seek, discern, and embrace the higher truths that transcend time and tradition. Confucius, known in Chinese as Kong-Fu-Zi, Master Kong, was born in 551 BCE in the state of Lu, in present-day Keifu, Shandong Province, China. His birth name was Kong Chu, and he came from a family of modest means, with his father, Kong He, being a military officer. Despite his family's humble status, Confucius received a good education and was well-versed in the traditional rites and texts of the Zhou dynasty. From a young age, Confucius was driven by a profound respect for learning and a desire to restore the moral and social order of society, which he believed had deteriorated during his time. He held various minor government positions in Lu, but his political career was largely unremarkable. However, these experiences shaped his understanding of governance and ethics, leading him to develop his philosophical ideas. Confucius' philosophy, which came to be known as Confucianism, centered on the principles of morality, proper conduct, and social harmony. He emphasized the importance of the 5 constant virtues: ren, benevolence or humaneness; yi, righteousness or justice; li, ritual propriety; ji, knowledge or wisdom; and xin, integrity or fidelity. Central to his teachings was the concept of ren, which he believed should guide all human interactions. He also stressed the importance of filial piety, shao, advocating respect and duty towards one's parents and ancestors, as the foundation of a well-ordered society. A significant aspect of Confucius' thought was his belief in the rectification of names. Zhengming, the idea that social roles and relationships should be clearly defined and adhered to, ensuring everyone fulfilled their societal duties. He also advocated for the cultivation of personal virtues and the role of education in achieving moral excellence. Confucius did not consider himself a creator of new ideas, but rather a transmitter of ancient wisdom. He sought to revive the values of the early Zhou dynasty, which he saw as a golden age of moral governance. His teachings were compiled by his disciples in texts such as the Analects, Lunyu, which remain one of the most important sources of his thought. Despite his dedication and the profound impact of his teachings, Confucius faced significant challenges during his lifetime. He traveled extensively, seeking a ruler who would implement his ideas, but found little success. His later years were spent teaching and mentoring a group of loyal disciples who would carry on his legacy. Confucius died in 479 BCE, leaving behind a rich intellectual heritage that would shape Chinese culture and philosophy for centuries. His ideas became the foundation of Confucianism, a dominant intellectual and ethical force in East Asia. Confucianism profoundly influenced Chinese education, government, and personal conduct, emphasizing the importance of moral integrity, respect for tradition, and the cultivation of virtuous character. Confucius' teachings continue to be revered and studied worldwide, highlighting his enduring legacy as one of history's greatest philosophers and educators. Even though Confucius didn't explicitly discuss a monotheistic God in his teachings, his philosophy is deeply rooted in the recognition of a supreme power known as Tian, or heaven. Confucius, a revered sage of ancient China, focused his teachings on ethics, social harmony, and proper conduct. He believed in the importance of rituals, filial piety, and the cultivation of virtuous character. But at the heart of his philosophy was the acknowledgement of Tian, also called Ti, Lord, or Shang Ti, Supreme Lord, as the ultimate moral authority. Confucius recognized numerous spirits associated with natural phenomena, such as the spirits of mountains, rivers, and celestial bodies. However, these spirits were seen as subordinate to Tian. This hierarchical structure emphasizes that while many spirits might influence the natural world, they all operate under the supreme oversight of Tian. Consider this powerful statement from Confucius himself: "He who offends against heaven has no one to whom he can pray." This highlights the belief in Tian's all-encompassing oversight and the futility of seeking help from lesser spirits when one has violated the supreme moral order. For Confucius, Tian was the ultimate arbiter of justice and morality, ensuring that the moral law was upheld. Now, let's fast forward to the late 16th and early 17th centuries, when an Italian Jesuit missionary named Matteo Ricci arrived in China. Ricci's work is significant because he was one of the first Western scholars to study Confucianism deeply and sought to bridge the cultural and religious gaps between China and the West. Matteo Ricci spent nearly 30 years in China, immersing himself in Chinese culture, learning the language, and engaging with Chinese scholars and officials. His approach to Confucianism was one of respect and admiration. He recognized the profound moral and ethical teachings of Confucius and sought to find common ground between Confucian and Christian teachings. Ricci attempted to reinterpret Confucian concepts in a way that could be compatible with Christianity. He suggested that the Confucian idea of Tian could be understood as the Christian God. This was part of his broader strategy to present Christianity in terms that would be more acceptable to the Chinese literati. Ricci believed that by finding this common ground, he could show that the moral teachings of Confucianism were in harmony with Christian doctrines about natural law and ethical behavior. One of Ricci's significant works is The True Meaning of the Lord of Heaven, Tianshu Shuyi, written in 1603. In this text, Ricci engages in a dialogue format to explain Christian doctrines while showing respect for Confucian ideas. He argued that the supreme moral authority recognized by Confucius as Tian could be aligned with the Christian concept of God, thus creating a bridge between these two great traditions. Imagine the profound implications of this synthesis. Ricci's work shows that the recognition of a supreme moral authority is a universal truth that transcends cultural and religious boundaries. Whether it's Tian in Confucianism or God in Christianity, this supreme principle guides us towards a higher moral and ethical standard. Let's take this understanding and apply it to our own lives. Let's embrace the wisdom of Confucius and the Insights of Ricci to foster a deeper sense of moral responsibility and spiritual awareness. By acknowledging the supreme moral authority that governs our actions, we can strive to live more virtuous and harmonious lives. Plato, one of the most influential philosophers in Western history, was born around 427 BCE, in Athens, Greece, into a wealthy and politically active family. His birth name was Aristocles, but he was later given the nickname Plato, which is believed to refer to his broad shoulders or robust physique. He was a student of Socrates and the teacher of Aristotle, forming a foundational trio in ancient Greek philosophy. Plato's early life was marked by the tumultuous political environment of Athens during the Peloponnesian War. His family was prominent in Athenian politics, but Plato himself was disillusioned by the political corruption he witnessed. This disillusionment deepened with the execution of his mentor, Socrates, in 399 BCE, which profoundly influenced his philosophical outlook. After Socrates' death, Plato traveled extensively, visiting places such as Egypt and Italy, where he was exposed to a variety of philosophical and religious traditions. Upon returning to Athens around 387 BCE, he founded the Academy, one of the earliest known institutions of higher learning in the Western world. The Academy attracted students from across the Greek world and became a center for philosophical discussion and research. Plato's philosophical contributions are vast, covering areas such as metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and politics. Plato's influence on Western philosophy and science is immense. His academy continued to thrive long after his death in 347 BCE, producing many notable philosophers, including Aristotle. Plato's ideas laid the groundwork for various fields of thought and have been studied and debated for centuries. His impact extends beyond philosophy into areas such as political theory, education, and psychology. The dialogues he wrote remain central texts in the study of philosophy, providing profound insights into the nature of reality, knowledge, and human existence. Let's explore the profound insights of Plato and how his philosophical ideas resonated deeply with the early Christian thinkers, laying a foundation that bridged the ancient world with Christian theology. In his dialogue The Republic, Plato introduces us to the concept of the form of the good. He describes this as the ultimate principle and highest reality, the source of all other forms and intelligible realities. Imagine it as the sun in the visible realm, providing light and enabling vision. The form of the good, in many ways, is Plato's abstract, supreme principle governing the universe, a precursor to monotheistic ideas, though more philosophical than personal. But Plato didn't stop there. In Timaeus, he takes us deeper into the cosmos creation, describing a divine craftsman, the demiurge. This benevolent being orders the chaotic material world according to the eternal forms, bringing harmony and structure. While the demiurge is not an omnipotent, omniscient God in the monotheistic sense, it represents a rational and purposeful creator, aligning the cosmos with the ideal forms. Plato often emphasized the rational and orderly nature of the universe, suggesting it is governed by a divine intelligence. This aligns with the idea of a single, overarching divine principle, ensuring the coherence and intelligibility of the cosmos. In dialogues like Phaedrus and the Laws, Plato explores the idea of a world soul or cosmic intelligence, infusing the universe with life and purpose. In the Laws, Plato outlines a more systematic theology, arguing for gods who are the authors of the universe and moral order. He emphasizes piety and proper religious practice, suggesting that the gods reward the virtuous and punish the wicked, reinforcing the idea of a divine moral order. This view, while not strictly monotheistic, hints at a unified principle of divine justice. Now, how did the early Christian thinkers receive Plato's views? The fathers of the Christian Church engaged deeply with Platonic philosophy, finding both points of agreement and divergence with Christian doctrine. Justin Martyr was among the first to explicitly incorporate Platonic thought into Christian theology. He saw Plato's form of the good as a foreshadowing of the Christian God, suggesting that the seeds of truth found in Greek philosophy were fully realized in Christianity. Clement of Alexandria argued that Greek philosophy, particularly Platonic thought, was a preparation for the gospel. He believed that Plato's understanding of a supreme, rational principle aligned with the Christian God, and that the Logos, word, in John's Gospel, could be understood through Platonic metaphysics. Other Christian thinkers used Plato's views on God to develop Christian Platonism, which became a dominant philosophical framework in early Christian theology. Notable figures include Origen and Augustine of Hippo. Origen synthesized Platonic and Christian ideas, using Platonic metaphysics to explain Christian doctrines. He interpreted the Logos as the divine reason and intermediary between the transcendent God and the created world, similar to Plato's demiurge. Augustine is perhaps the most significant early Christian thinker to engage with Platonic philosophy. Initially influenced by Neoplatonism, Augustine adapted Platonic ideas to Christian theology, interpreting the Christian God as the source of all being and goodness, much like Plato's form of the good. In his works Confessions and City of God, Augustine elaborated on the compatibility between Platonism and Christianity, arguing that Platonic philosophy could help explain the nature of God and the soul. While many church fathers found Platonic philosophy useful, they also critiqued and diverged from Plato on key theological points. Tertullian was more critical of Greek philosophy, including Plato. He famously asked, "What has Athens to do with Jerusalem?" expressing skepticism about the compatibility of pagan philosophy with Christian faith. He was concerned that Platonic ideas might lead to heresies like Gnosticism. Irenaeus of Lyons critiqued Platonic dualism, which he believed undermined the goodness of material creation. He emphasized the Christian belief in the incarnation and resurrection of the body, rejecting any notion that devalued the physical world. So, what can we take from all this? The reception of Plato's views by the early Christian thinkers shows a rich dialogue between ancient Greek philosophy and Christian theology. They found in Plato's philosophy a valuable tool for articulating and defending Christian beliefs, harmonizing the supreme, transcendent principles of Greek thought with the monotheistic God of Christianity. Join me as we continue to uncover these profound connections and share these insights with the world. Together, let's explore how ancient wisdom and divine truth intersect to illuminate our path today. Aristotle, one of history's most influential philosophers and scientists, was born in 384 BCE in Stagira, a small town in northern Greece. His father, Nicomachus, served as the court physician to the Macedonian king, which likely influenced Aristotle's early interest in the natural sciences. Orphaned at a young age, Aristotle was taken under the guardianship of Proxenus of Atarneus, who ensured he received a comprehensive education. At the age of 17, Aristotle traveled to Athens, the intellectual center of Greece, to join Plato's academy. He studied under Plato for 20 years, absorbing and contributing to the rich philosophical discourse. Despite his profound respect for Plato, Aristotle eventually diverged from his teacher's ideas, favoring empirical observation over Plato's emphasis on abstract forms. After Plato's death in 347 BCE, Aristotle left Athens and spent several years traveling and studying. He joined the court of Hermias of Atarneus and later married Hermias' niece, Pythias. Aristotle's travels eventually led him to the court of King Philip II of Macedon, where he was appointed as the tutor to the young prince, Alexander the Great. This position significantly influenced both Aristotle's life and the future of Western civilization. In 335 BCE, Aristotle returned to Athens and established his own school, the Lyceum. Unlike Plato's academy, the Lyceum emphasized empirical research and included a broad curriculum covering subjects like biology, physics, metaphysics, ethics, politics, and aesthetics. Aristotle's method was characterized by meticulous observation and classification, particularly evident in his biological works. Aristotle's extensive body of work covers a vast array of subjects, laying the foundations for numerous fields of study. Some of his most significant contributions include metaphysics, ethics, politics, logic, natural science. Following Alexander the Great's death in 323 BCE, Anti-Macedonian sentiment in Athens forced Aristotle to flee to the city of Chalcis, on the island of Euboea. He lived there until his death, in 322 BCE. Aristotle's influence on Western thought is immeasurable. His works shaped medieval scholasticism, particularly through the synthesis of his philosophy with Christian theology, by figures such as Thomas Aquinas. During the Renaissance, Aristotle's ideas were revived and further developed, laying the groundwork for modern science and philosophy. Let's dive into the profound and fascinating conception of God, as articulated by one of history's greatest philosophers, Aristotle. His idea of the unmoved mover has deeply influenced philosophical and theological thought, bridging ancient Greek philosophy with medieval Christian theology. In his seminal work Metaphysics, Aristotle introduces us to the concept of the unmoved mover, or prime mover. This entity is the ultimate cause of all motion and change in the universe, yet it is itself unmoved and unchanging. The unmoved mover is pure actuality, meaning it is a fully realized being with no potential for change. It is eternal, necessary, and perfect, the final cause to which all things aspire. Imagine a being so perfect and complete that its only activity is thought thinking itself, a perpetual contemplation of its own perfection and rationality. This, according to Aristotle, is the highest form of existence. Now, how does this compare to the monotheistic God? Like the God of monotheism, Aristotle's unmoved mover is transcendent, existing outside the physical universe and being immutable. This immutability is a key characteristic shared with the monotheistic conception of God. However, unlike the monotheistic God who creates and interacts with the world, Aristotle's unmoved mover does not engage in creation or intervention. Its causality is more about being the final cause that everything in the universe moves towards or aspires to. But Aristotle's influence didn't end with his own time. His concept of the unmoved mover had a significant impact on later theological and philosophical developments, particularly in Neoplatonism and medieval scholasticism. Neoplatonist philosophers, such as Plotinus, integrated Aristotelian and Platonic ideas, developing a hierarchical structure of reality that included a transcendent one, similar to Aristotle's unmoved mover. When we look at the medieval period, we see figures like Thomas Aquinas, Albertus Magnus, and Duns Scotus, deeply engaging with Aristotle's philosophy. Aquinas, in particular, systematically integrated Aristotle's ideas into Christian theology. In his Summa Theologica, Aquinas developed 5 proofs for the existence of God, drawing directly on Aristotle's concepts of motion, causation, and contingency, to argue for the existence of a first cause or necessary being, which he identified as God. Aquinas adopted Aristotle's concept of the unmoved mover, identifying it with the Christian God. He argued that the God of Christianity is the first cause of everything, the necessary being who causes all motion and change without being moved or changed himself. He used Aristotle's distinction between actuality and potentiality to explain the nature of God, who is pure act, having no potentiality, and thus perfect and immutable. This aligns with the Aristotelian concept of the unmoved mover, while fitting within the Christian understanding of God as the ultimate being. Other key thinkers, like Albertus Magnus and Duns Scotus, also played crucial roles in integrating and interpreting Aristotle's works within a Christian context. Albertus Magnus wrote extensively on Aristotle's philosophy, laying the groundwork for its integration into medieval scholasticism. Duns Scotus, while engaging with Aristotelian philosophy, offered critiques and alternative approaches, particularly regarding the nature of existence and the relationship between essence and existence in God. Aristotle's views were not without their challenges. He believed in the eternity of the world, a view conflicting with the Christian doctrine of creation ex nihilo, or creation out of nothing. Catholic thinkers, while respecting Aristotle's reasoning, upheld the biblical teaching of a temporal beginning to the universe. Additionally, Aristotle's unmoved mover is impersonal and purely intellectual, whereas the Christian God is personal, involved in creation, and possesses attributes like love, mercy, and justice. Catholic theologians emphasized these personal aspects of God, which were absent in Aristotle's philosophy. So, what does this tell us? Aristotle's profound insights into the nature of the divine have had a lasting impact, shaping theological and philosophical thought across cultures and epochs. His concept of the unmoved mover provided a philosophical foundation that Christian thinkers built upon, adapting and integrating it into their understanding of God. Friends, what we've uncovered today is not just a series of coincidences or isolated insights. This is a tapestry of wisdom woven across time and space, from ancient Greece to imperial China, pointing us towards a profound and unifying truth. These great minds, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Confucius, were not just philosophers of their age, but harbingers of a truth that transcends human understanding and touches the divine. Think about it. These men grasped at the essence of a higher reality, a singular divine principle. They saw through the illusions of their time, peered into the depths of existence, and found there the fingerprints of a monotheistic God. Yet, their voices are often obscured. But why? Because acknowledging them would shatter the comfortable narratives that have been built around secularism and relativism. It would challenge us to rethink our place in the cosmos, our purpose, and our responsibilities to each other and to the divine. Now is the time to break free from the chains of ignorance and apathy. Now is the time to reclaim the wisdom of the ancients and let it illuminate our path forward. We live in an age where information is at our fingertips, where we can connect and share ideas like never before. Let's use this power to spread the truth. Imagine a world where the teachings of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Confucius are celebrated, where their insights into the divine are recognized as guiding lights for humanity. Imagine a world where we live in harmony with the moral and ethical frameworks they laid down, acknowledging a higher power that binds us all. We are at a crossroads, my friends. We can continue to walk in the shadows, content with half-truths and comfortable lies, or we can step into the light of understanding, embracing the challenge of living in accordance with the truths these great thinkers unveiled. Join me in this mission. Share this video. Discuss these ideas with your friends and family. Learn the full, unvarnished history of philosophy. Subscribe to this channel, follow our journey. The truth is calling. Will you answer?